So you've shared an article with us today, and it really hits on a challenge a lot of us are facing, I think. How do you put a strong message out there, maybe even a difficult one, without, alienating everyone? We're looking at Books That Bridge, Writing Boldly Without Burning Your Audience. It's by Carma Spence. And it feels, well, pretty timely, doesn't it? Dealing with that tension, authenticity versus reach.
Absolutely. Spence really dives into this idea that, especially for entrepreneurial authors, writing was never supposed to be, well, safe. And just staying quiet, that's not neutral, it's just quiet.
Right.
The aim isn't pleasing everybody, it's more strategic. It's about leading the right people.
Okay, so let's dig into that. It's not about watering things down, it's about being intentional. Spence uses this metaphor, your book, as a bridge, not a soapbox like that. You're building a path, not just shouting from one side.
Exactly, that bridge idea is so important because it addresses that fear. If I really say what I think, am I gonna push people away, maybe lose clients? But Spence argues, and I think this is key, that softening your message doesn't actually help, it just creates confusion. That definitely pushes away the people who need your clarity most.
Yeah, confusion is costly. And this part I found really interesting, especially for you listening and trying to figure this out. Spence says, bold doesn't mean belligerent, and reach doesn't require retreat.
Ooh, I like that phrasing.
Right. It's about conviction, sure, but framing it so it invites people in, makes them think, instead of just slamming the door.
And it seems like there's some identity work involved too. Like you
Yeah.
need to be clear on who you are and what you actually stand for because it comes through. The books that really land, they aren't always the loudest. They're the ones that feel aligned,
Yeah.
clear about their values and who they're for.
So instead of worrying constantly, oh no, will this offend someone, Spence flips it. Ask, is this aligned with my values? Is it clear for my ideal reader? And maybe most importantly, is this useful for the person I really want to help?
Yeah, that shift. It moves you from just avoiding offense to being really intentional with your message. It's powerful.
Think about some examples mentioned like Untamed by Glennon Doyle or... So you want to talk about Race by Ayuoma Oluwo?
Great examples.
They definitely don't shy away from tough stuff, but they connect. They build those bridges, even while being bold.
And that leads to another really useful distinction Spence makes, the difference between calling out and calling in.
Okay.
Calling out often sounds like demanding correction, maybe from a distance, but calling in, that's more like an invitation. It's aiming for connection, even if there's disagreement.
An invitation, I like that. And connection, that's what turns readers into real advocates, right?
Exactly. So how do you call in with your writing? Spence gives like 3 ways. First, really get your readers deeper. What possibility are they reaching for? Second, use narrative empathy. Tell stories.
Stories always connect.
Right. And third, honor the nuances, the complexity, but without losing your core clarity. It's skillful. It's like saying, look, I see you. Now here's maybe another way to think about this.
That kind of writing, the skillful, values-driven kind, it's more than just good communication. Spence calls it a strategic asset.
Yeah, because the old myth is that being bold scares off clients, but it's usually being unclear that does the real damage.
That makes so much sense.
In this noisy world we're in, depth and clarity, that's what cuts through. A book written like this strategically, it doesn't just share ideas, it attracts the right clients, gets you seen by the right people, and builds real trust.
So ultimately, Spence is saying this is about more than just like short-term gains or leverage. It's legacy work. It's about creating something that resonates, gets past the initial resistance maybe, and actually leads to relevance and transformation for the reader.
Yeah, it's a compelling framework from Carma Spence. It basically says, look, you can write something that bridges divides, leads effectively, and connects deeply without selling out your core message. It just takes, well, the right strategy and that clear intention.
So if you're sitting there thinking about your message, how to make it brave and aligned, we definitely recommend checking out the full article by Carma Spence. It's really insightful. And don't worry, we've put a link straight to it in the show notes for you. Easy to find.
So maybe here's a final thought to chew on. When you write, are you mostly focused on trying not to bother the wrong people? Or are you focused on intentionally, authentically attracting the right ones by showing up with everything you've got? Something to think about.